Right, very lucky to have Damon Johnson from Black Star Riders on the phone. Damon, thanks for taking my call.
It's my pleasure, Mal. Great to talk to you.
Right, of course, every interview with Black Star Riders has to ask the obvious questions about Thin Lizzy. Now, I know you're a long-time Lizzy fan, just as I am. From your point of view, what was it like getting the gig with Thin Lizzy? What went through your mind when you got that?
You know, man, it was incredible. It was incredible on a level that I don't know that I really have ever been able to properly describe. That band has meant so much to me my entire life that to get a phone call and be asked to join, I just don't know that there's really ever been anything to compare that to now. I'm really great friends with Richie Faulkner from Judas Priest. And I guess, you know, obviously that was a similar situation. You know, Richie was a lifelong Priest fan and had studied those albums and played along with Glenn Tipton and K.K. Downing and those riffs. And so, you know, that is a similar story, I guess. But, you know, it's just not something you plan on. It's not something that you even go out and try to make happen. You know, I was so busy doing other things in my life. So it was ironic that I was with Alice Cooper at the time because Alice, he's known forever since I joined his band way back in 2004. He knew that I was a huge Thin Lizzy fan because I talked about them a lot. I would play their music on the bus. We would play Thin Lizzy songs at soundcheck sometimes, you know, me and the other guys in the band. So just amazing. And, you know, just without question, one of the highlights of my whole career.
And then being on stage, you know, being up the front with Scott, turning around, seeing that logo up there, and then seeing Brian Downey underneath it, that must have been just insane.
Yeah, man, just mind-blowing. I'll never forget the very first show that was down in San Antonio, Texas, and I was very emotional. I was a bundle of, not nerves, but just emotion. It was not lost on me the significance that, you know, from that moment on, I was going to be at least a tiny footnote in the Thin Lizzy story, no matter what happened. So yeah. It was very special for me, and, you know, and it was just an honor for them to give me the opportunity to play that music, and then ultimately for them to ask me to join the band and be a member of the band. It was as high of an honor as I've ever achieved.
Yeah, okay. Now, moving on. Now, I spoke to Scott just after the Killer Instinct came out, and I asked him this question, but I'd like to hear your version. When the decision was made not to record under the Thin Lizzy name, what was the vibe? Was it, from your point of view, was it a relief? Did it release pressure, or was it just not like that at all?
No, it was definitely interesting because in a lot of ways at that point in time, Ricky and I, we were employees of the band. You know, Thin Lizzy was Scott Gorham and Brian Downey's band. So if they said, hey guys, we're going to make a Thin Lizzy record, we'd like for you to participate, then we're not going to say no. We're not going to fight against that. I mean, no. You know, that was our new job. It was our job to be a part of that. So for Ricky and I to also be fans, obviously that concept was something we were excited about, and we were up for the challenge, and we wanted to help in any way possible. But I don't know that Scott nor Brian ever were 100% convinced that that was what they wanted to do, make a new record and call it Thin Lizzy. Because anyone with any common sense can see that Phil Lynott's creativity, his gifts as a writer, a singer, and a performer are unmatched. You can't replace that. No. And because Phil's footprint was so wide and so deep into that legacy, it just didn't make a lot of sense to put out a Thin Lizzy album. So the instant that the idea was presented, that we would simply put out this new music under a different name, it really made a lot of sense to everyone.
Yeah.
There wasn't so much a sense of relief as much as just being practical. Like, that's the right thing to do. That's the smart thing to do. It'll be better for the songs. It will be better for the fans. And it will just be better for the story going forward. So now here we are in 2017, and we have this really unique situation where both bands are actually, continuing entities. I'm sure you guys know, even down there in Australia, that there was a handful of festival dates that we played this past year as Thin Lizzy. Nothing too big, just, 5 festivals, 6 festivals. They were great. The audiences were great. The crowds were huge. We had a great time, and it just felt like a proper tribute to celebrate 40 years since the Jailbreak record, and to mark that it had been 30 years since Phil passed away. And now we're back to work with Black Star Riders. And, this year we're going to give BSR our full attention and 100% focus.
Just before we move on, what did it feel like to finally get that first Black Star Riders album out there?
That was a relief. It truly was, now, because particularly for Ricky and I mean, we had no way of measuring what the reaction was going to be. It definitely was great to have kind of the support and the endorsement of Scott Gorham. Scott loved the new songs. He was really happy with the material that the band was writing and recording. So that gave us a lot of confidence. But even Scott, he didn't have any way of measuring, how people were going to react to it. I mean, you got to remember, man, the only other band Scott had ever been a part of was his project 21 Guns. And, that 21 Guns never really toured and never really sold a lot of records. So he was firmly aware of, how difficult it is to step outside of Thin Lizzy for him to do something else. So there was no guarantee, man, that this thing was going to work. There was certainly no guarantee that we would make it to a second or a third album. So without a doubt, man, we feel like it's just been a tremendous success, and we couldn't be more pleased with how things have gone.
Now, Marco Mendoza leaves and he's replaced with Robbie Crane before The Killer Instinct came out. Now, I read that Scott quoted as saying that Robbie's audition performance of The Boys Are Back in Town are closest to the original since Phil had played it. Now, that's high praise.
Yeah. Pretty incredible, man. What you'll be very interested to know now is that Robbie Crane obviously knew about Thin Lizzy and was familiar with some of the material, but he was not the fan that you are or that I am of Thin Lizzy. It just, there was other music that was higher on his radar, or in his record collection. Robbie simply was very impressed with the All Hell Breaks Loose album. A friend had sent him the record, and he thought it was great, thought the band sounded great, the lyrics, the riffs, everything. So that was what really had him interested, wanting to participate. So that made it even more kind of incredible that he would come in there and play what is really a fairly difficult song on the bass guitar in The Boys Are Back in Town. And, man, he just nailed it. He killed it, just did an incredible job. And I was standing next to Robbie when we played it. So I remember watching Robbie's hands, and then I turned and looked at Scott, and Scott had this look on his face like, incredible. Like, wow, this guy is really, none of us expected that. I don't think Robbie expected it. I certainly know that Scott Gorham didn't expect to feel that way. So that was very special, very exciting.
That's awesome. Now, after Killer Instinct, like I said, I spoke to Scott, and we were talking about different things, and he told me, how we came up with the riff to Soldier's Town in the shower, as you do. Hell of a story, that one. But I'd like to hear your story on one track. I want to pin you down, if you don't mind. But tell me about Blindsided. Holy crap, where did that one come from?
Thank you, Mal. Blind Cited is still maybe my favorite Black Star Writer song of all time. We were in Cambridge, England, where we rehearsed, and we had been working on some new material and really just to go out and do a run of dates. This was with Robbie. And the guys had taken a break to grab a coffee, and Ricky and I had already been trying to compile some ideas, for the next album. I was working on my guitar. I think I was changing strings, and Ricky started playing this idea on his guitar. And I just stopped everything I was doing. I said, wow, man, what is that? What is that? It was very simple, just those two chords kind of that you hear at the beginning,
Mm.
And he goes, oh, man, that's nothing. He goes, that's something I've had for years. He goes, I tried to, finish that for one of my solo records, and I just never finished it. And I swear to God, Mal, in my head, I could hear the entire song just from the two chords. I heard the entire arrangement, production, the whole thing. It sounded very Pink Floyd to me, very comfortably numb. Wish you were here. Yeah, but also very rootsy. I'm a huge Southern rock guy, man. It had this kind of Tuesday's Gone, Leonard Skinner vibe to it. So I was inspired, motivated, and man, I remember telling Ricky, I said, are you going to remember that, or do I need to record it right now? He laughed. Oh, I'll remember. He goes, that's easy. I got it. So I think the next week when we were on the road, we had a day off, and I said, hey, man, I'm coming to your room. I'm bringing my guitar. Let's work on that song. Yeah. And, that's how it started.